Hello, this is a short video tutorial on how to use classing and the difference between using classing and layering when setting up classes and layers. Just as we did in class, I'm going to show you a short demo using a couple of lines here. I've started a new file, so there's nothing on here other than the scale of the document. I have 4 lines, although the number here does not matter. If I want to class after the creation of an object, I simply can select that object, right-click, hit Properties, open Class, and then click New Class. I'm going to call this Lightweight Line. I want to make sure that Edit Properties after creation is checked. I'm going to click OK, and we're going to get our Edit Classes dialog box. We want to make sure we click Use at Creation. We're going to check 0.05, which is the default on my system. You may have set a previous default in another course or just on your own, but the default for the system is 0.05. I don't like fills to be the default, so instead of having it say fill solid, I'm going to say fill none, which means that shapes will not be filled with any color. I like to set that independently. So now that we have that, we have everything we need. It says, do I want the selected objects to use the graphic attributes? Yes, I do. And I'm going to say, all right. Now, if you notice this line, if you go to your class view, now says class lightweight line. Sorry about that. It's trying to update my... I'm going to save this file. Again, this is a line demo underscore classes underscore layers. Okay. We're going to open our second line here. And again, same thing. I'm right-clicking, going down to Properties. I want this to be a nice medium weight line. So I'm going to say Class, New Class. I'm going to label this Medium weight line. Again, Edit Properties after creation is ticked. Again, like I said, use at creation. I want this to be none because I don't like solids, but that's my personal preference. A nice medium weight line might be a 0.25. So I'll choose that now. Say OK. It's going to ask me the same question. Do I want to use the selected objects as part of the new class? Yes, I do. Say OK again. You'll notice this is now in the class medium weight line. Now, between these two lines, we can clearly see that there is a difference. I'll get to that in a moment. We're going to make this one a heavyweight line, so I'm going to right-click and do the same action, but instead this time I'm going to show you a different way to do it. So if you have an object selected, you can look at your palette over here, right? And you simply go here and you say Class, New Class. It behaves exactly the same way. And I'm going to call this Heavyweight Line. Again, Edit Properties after creation is ticked. I'm ticking Use at Creation, turning off the fill, and I'm going to choose a heavyweight line. Now, 0.25 is medium weight. 0.1 or 0.7, or sorry, 1.0 or 0.7 is a nice weight for a heavyweight line. I'm going to choose 0.7. Say OK. It's going to again ask me, do I want to use the selected objects and the graphic attributes? The answer is yes. The last one is going to be an extra heavyweight line. I'm going to use the other method for saying class, new class. We call this extra heavyweight line. Again, edit properties after creation. None, use it creation, and I'm going to make this a 1.4. Say OK, yes, and now we can see we have 4 distinct line weights. So now, if I was drafting and I wanted to make sure that these classed correctly, I would just simply select the class in which I wanted, and the line would automatically be correct. Notice I'm able to do this with 2 clicks. It really does speed up your drafting. So, moving on to a second thing I want to show you. If you want to set this up in advance, we'll do this, and I'm going to use colored shapes just like I did in class. So I can simply click on the classes icon, which is the one that kind of looks like a flowchart, right in the upper area right below your tabs. Simply click here. You're going to see I already have some classes. I'm going to say a new class. I'm going to call this one square test. These will all be shape names and test. Again, edit properties after creation as always. But just to show you how this works, I'm going to actually add a fill. And I'm going to make this one fill with a specific color. And I'm going to choose kind of like a mustard yellow. Right? I'm going to say use it creation. And I'm going to show you how wild you can get. I'm going to make the outline of this, instead of be black, I'm going to choose from our crayon box, and I'm going to make it green. It's going to be an ugly color combination, but that's all right. I'm going to make the line thickness here quite large at 2.0. That's super extra heavyweight, right? No drop shadows, no nothing else. Square test, right? We notice that medium weight, the one that's checked and bold, is the current. Right? That means that's the one that's actively selected. That doesn't really matter in this instance. Create another new class, and I'm going to call this one Octo Test. Right? Again, edit properties after creation, use it creation, and this time I'm going to put a hatch on it, which is something you're more likely to do. Right? In your drafting project, there's actually many items that are hatched. Brick hatch is an excellent one to use. So I'm going to give this a medium weight thickness, right? Which we decided was 0.25. Right? So your octagon is going to be hatched in a medium weight. And notice where it says fill, it shows HF. That's wonderful. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to select Octo Test. I'm going to select an octagon, and we're going to draw it. So this is a polygon with 6 sides. And notice how it automatically comes out hatched. Right? And I can do multiples of these. This is actually an interesting way to make layouts of platforms and things. Notice how I'm actually able to make it kind of like steps. Right? See how quickly that is to draw. I'm now going to move back. I'm going to change my class, and I'm going to change over to Square Test, which is our colorful, really discordant color look. Right? I'm going to do this. Now, remember that the octagon, or sorry, that the rectangle tool is a rectangle tool, but if you hold Shift, it's going to automatically default to a square. So all I'm doing is hitting the Shift key, and it proportionally will always be a square. You can see how garish that color combination is. But you see how quickly it is creating all of this in the appropriate color scheme, right? Now again, you're not going to use mustard yellow and neon green. I'm just using this as an example. what you're more likely to use is like a hatch or something along those lines. I hope this has been really helpful to you. Now I'm going to show you a question that came up in class. Can we use this as layers? So just to make sure we're going to demonstrate this to the best of its ability, I'm going to go back to the None class, and I'm going to open the Layer tool. Remember that we're only using design layers in this context. Sheet layers are for printing. Design layers are for designing or drafting. So I'm going to create a new layer. Remember, with a layer, I'm just going to call this Test Design Layer. Remember, with a new layer, it's always going to ask the scale. So if your objects are in a different scale, that's a great use for a layer. So some of your elevation plates have an elevation that may be an example at like 1 inch to 1 foot versus a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch. That's an excellent use of design layers. That's not something that classes do well or do at all, frankly. But one of the things you'll notice is a lot of these options aren't available in classes, and vice versa. One of the objects that is available, or options rather, that is available is Renderworks background, right? Colors is also an option. You can set the fills just like you did, but it's done differently, right? The pen is done differently. You'll notice that you can also set the stacking order. So if you want something to go on top versus on bottom, so you could have like 500 or more stacks, and you can say which one you want on top and which one you want all the way at the bottom of your stack. You can also set elevation. Layers come in really handy in 3D drafting. The other thing that comes in really handy with layers is viewports. And we don't have any viewports assigned just yet, but we're going to talk about viewports as we get closer to printing. So I hope this gives you an example of the difference between layers and classes, and how classes have one set of parameters that are really helpful, and layers have a different set. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to make you individual videos, and anything to help. Please remember I have office hours and open time for you. That'll be Tuesday and Thursday mornings from 9:30 until 10:30, both days, and of course by appointment. Hope this was helpful. Thank you so much.